Welcome to the Bite-Sized Storytelling Show, brought to you by Commaful.com, where we bring you techniques, advice, and stories that will help you on your writing journey. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to our special guest.
Hi, I'm Meredith Sue Willis, and I want to thank Commaful for inviting me to say a few things about writing. I'm a writer of many, many years. I started when I was a little girl and began with comic books. I actually wrote comic books before I could read and write. I would draw the pictures and make the balloons, and then eventually I learned to put in words too. So I go way back. I've written quite a few books, and I also still actually teach writing, so it's something I think about a lot. Generally fiction writing, and the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit today is the idea of revision as something fun. When I was doing it as a little child, I didn't think of whether it was something hard or something easy or something professional. I just did all of my writing for fun. And now I run into a lot of students who find revision cramps their style, or revision gets in their way. Not everybody for sure, but there are quite a few people like that. And I want to make a case for certain kinds of revision being the best thing you can possibly do for your writing. And I'm thinking particularly today of adding as a way of revising. And I have 3 exercises I'm going to offer to you to see, you might want to think about them, might want to try them. The first one addresses a specific problem. The problem is you're having trouble with a minor character. You're not sure who they really are. You wonder about them. Somebody has told you, a reader has said, I don't get so-and-so, or so-and-so doesn't really seem like a man. He seems too feminine, or some other issue of gender that maybe you've had trouble with, or just simply that you just are not getting there with the person. So this exercise adds some material to that, and the way it works is very simple. You imagine for a while being that character, and you write a monologue or confession for the person. Confession in this case not meaning where somebody says, yes, I did it, I did the murder, but rather it's a kind of formal statement of who I am, why I do what I do, where I come from, what I've learned. The idea of writing this kind of thing is it's good to do it using a timer. I'm very big on using timed writings, so I would suggest setting a timer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just set your smartphone, and for that period of time, write totally in the voice of your character, and whatever comes out, comes out. It may be bad, it may be good. And when you're done and look back at it, there may very well be something you can use. Even if you're writing a first-person novel, you might be able to use these speeches by the minor character as part of dialogue, or as an email or a text. And at any rate, I suspect you'll find that you have gathered depth for your character. You will have added some backstory. And mainly, I submit that you're going to end up with some ideas that you didn't have before, certainly for the character, but maybe even for the story itself. Okay, second exercise, and this again is quite concrete, and I call it the silver screen, and it's one that's particularly good when you're working on action. In general, novels and stories are not as good on action as the movies, for obvious reasons. Movies move. But if you have an action scene, a fight, a battle, a struggle, somebody fleeing, somebody gently touching someone's face in an erotic way, whatever the action is, a good way to get it laid out there and add to your story is to imagine yourself in front of a screen. It could be a big widescreen TV, or I call it the silver screen because I'm picturing a big movie screen. And in this exercise, you simply, again, set a timer, and for this short period of time, probably 5 minutes, watch the action as if somebody had already filmed it for you. Note if it's being seen up close by one character. Is it a medium shot where you see pretty much from the waist up, or do you see it more of a long shot where you see the people's whole bodies? Note who makes the first move, where they stand in relation to each other. And after you've finished your time on this, as rapidly as possible and in as much detail as possible, write down what you saw. And that can become thinned down. I know it will have too many words, but that can become the skeleton for a good action scene. So detail can be very useful in writing, not just in order to write a descriptive passage. Children often think that the teachers want them to be descriptive. 21st century readers are not too big on description, but obviously there has to be a certain amount. And I also think that description is really useful to a writer because it's one way you get into a state where you learn more about your story and go deeper. So the third exercise is a real simple one. You may have had, maybe you've been away from your story for a while, maybe you're just getting back to it, maybe you're stuck, maybe you're just kind of fooling around looking for some new ideas. And what you do is you put an apple in your story. That's right, an apple. It could be something else, and in fact I have a whole list of things it might be, but an apple's a good one. It's pretty neutral. And you begin by, and by the way, it doesn't have to be an edible apple. I once did this with a story and had a crystal apple that somebody gave as a gift to another person. But the way you begin this, again, timed writing, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you describe in your mind, observe with your senses, with all of your senses, what the object looks like. So if it's an actual edible apple, you're going to notice size, weight, texture, smooth, or does it have a little coat of wax like they put on the grocery stores? How does it taste, smell, sound when you crunch into it? In other words, you describe it at some length, and then keep going and find a place for it in your novel. Somebody sees it, somebody eats it, somebody discovers it lying spilled out of a bag, so it becomes a clue in the story. But the point is that you begin with description, which deepens your consciousness, or seeps down into your lower levels of consciousness, and then you see where that leads you. And with a little bit of luck, it will actually lead you to perhaps some new ideas for story, or perhaps just something to add to your story. Those are my 3 suggestions. I've got a lot more. I've written a couple of books about how to write, along with my several novels and books of short stories, and I'd love to have you take a look at my website, which includes obviously information about my work, but also has links to writing exercises, to a newsletter for readers and writers, and lots of articles for writers. And the website is www.meredithsuewillis.com, and I'll spell that out. MEredithSuewillis.com, one word. And thank you for giving me this time, and it was really fun talking with you.
If you found this interesting, be sure to like, subscribe, and give a special thanks to our volunteer instructor. Reviews and likes really go a long way and help us provide more awesome writing resources to the Commaful community. If you aren't on Commaful yet, you can join a community of poets, short story authors, and fan fiction writers on Commaful.com.